For those of you who I have not had the pleasure or privilege of meeting, I am Ann Fortescue, and I have the honor to serve as the Executive Director at IMAS, the International Museum of Art and Science. I'd like to recognize some of the very special guests that we have with us today. Joining us from the McAllen Public Utility Board, Chairman Place A, Charles Amos, and Chairman Place D, Ernie Williams. We have McAllen Public Utility General Manager, Mark Vega. We have the Vice President of Visit McAllen at the McAllen Chamber of Commerce, Lee Woldridge. Lee, you can wave. We have newly elected MISD trustee and IMAS trustee, Robert Carrion. And joining Robert from the IMAS board, our board president, Cassandra Moreno, and trustee, Dr. John Gerling. Additionally, we have with us today the Vice Consul of Mexico, Jesus Cano Sanchez, and our very, very special guests from Mexico City, our exhibit design partners from Sietecolores, Maribel Ibarra and Seth Solis. I'd also like to give a special shout out to the MPU staff who's with us today and celebrating this wonderful event, and also our IMAS staff. A special shout out also to the City of McAllen and the McAllen Media Department. Roy and your staff, thank you so much for being with us to record this momentous event. We also have several members from Hidalgo County Judge Cortez's office, so we thank you for being with us to represent the judge today. So, why are we here? Water. Water is our precious resource, and IMAS is honored to have been host to Water Journey. This amazing, wonderful exhibit that's behind me is over 20 years old, and it provides a comprehensive understanding of our water's journey, from its origin to its different cleaning stages, distribution, personal consumption, and the necessary actions for conservation. So this is an exhibit that visitors actively engage with the experience through activating interactive mechanical elements, reading labels, and analyzing their content, and later implementing water conservation tips. So as I think many of you know, Water Journey gets played with very, very hard by our youngest visitors. They thoroughly throw themselves into moving the clean water and the dirty water through the process. So happily for all of us in the museum, this is a dry exhibit about a very damp topic. So Water Journey is also an example of our enduring partnership with the McAllen Public Utility. And it's one that the IMAS staff both delights in and really values in terms of the way in which we get to collaborate together to tell what can be a very technical, very complicated story, but one that is with us every day. How many of you turned the tap on this morning to brush your teeth, take a shower, get here? Right. So we want to make turning on the tap an act of both curiosity and wonder, but also a way to, quite frankly, civically engage. So we hope that many of our young visitors who come and experience Water Journey will someday end up serving as an MPU staff member or an MPU trustee because they've been excited about the water journey story. So I'm going to ask MPU General Manager Mark Vega to come up and say a few words.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you, Anastasia, for wearing that dress. The last time she wore it, she said it rained, it came down. So now we know why it rains, because she wore it again. But it's such a privilege to be here. I was debating whether to tell you a story or not. It's only a 20-minute story, okay?
We have time.
We have time. But to hear you say that on education, so we were some of us were in a mediation last week, a legal procedure, right? And if I could tell you how many times the person doing the mediating said, oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Rewind to last week, I was in a conference in Corpus Christi for recycled water because we do a lot of water recycling in McAllen. And in that panel discussion, for the other panelists to say, wow, I didn't know that. I didn't know that. You know, education is so important, whether it's trying to convince someone that you're in the right, not in the wrong, or trying to educate someone, to hear someone say, wow, I didn't know that, and you see the light bulb go off, is so satisfying. It's so satisfying because they get it. And if you have kids, man, when they get something, it's like, wow, you hear the angels sing, like, wow, they get it. You know, it doesn't last very long, 10 seconds, but hey, they got it for that second. But, you know, what keeps us many times, I was just talking to a board member here earlier, 10 minutes ago. And so many times in working together, because we don't own this resource. We're just stewards of water. That's all we are. I was at a cloud seeding seminar a couple of weeks ago. Was anybody there? Here? Anybody at the cloud seeding seminar? You pay $500,000. They'll fly a little plane over the clouds. And if that rain cloud would have rained 1 inch, with the cloud seeding, it rains 3 inches. And we thought, I said, well, how do you know? Well, that's tough. You know, we can't define it. So, okay. And this was a few weeks ago, and I thought, look, last week we were supposed to get 1 inch, and we got 8 inches. Did you all cloud seed? They said, no, we didn't do that one. Okay. So I'm a little iffy on the cloud seed, and I'm too old-fashioned to think that we can make it rain. Okay? But that's just me. Maybe we can. But in dealing with people and entities, education is so important. But once you educate someone, for someone to have the humility to say, wow, I didn't know that, you're right, that takes a certain level of humility to work together. And it's so, I tell our staff at NPU, the easiest thing to do is criticize and find the faults in other people. Man, that's easy, and we're so good at it. To see our faults, that takes an act of God. I mean, that is incredible, because we just can't see that part. So I was at the conference, and I'll end with this very, very quickly. At the conference last weekend in Corpus Christi with my son, because my wife was out of town, so I had to tug my 8-year-old with me. And I begged him, I sat him there in the front, don't move and don't make a sound. 8 years old, okay? So I had to run to the store and buy a tie, because I didn't take a tie with me to be on this 4-person panel for recycled water. So I thought, okay, I've got my tie, I've got my sports coat, I'm ready, because everybody else was wearing their sports coat and looked sharp, and you know, you want to represent McAllen Public Utility. And my son says, 5 minutes before it starts, Dad, I'm freezing, I need your coat. And I'm like, you need this coat? By the way, he said, sports coat? What sport is it, Dad? So I thought, okay, but I need it back in 5 minutes, Marky. Okay, so he puts it on. 5 minutes later, we're about to start. And he says, Dad, I'm freezing. I need the sports. I need your coat. Oh, man. I said, the thoughts that went through my head in a split second was, what in the world am I thinking to keep a coat from my son because I'm going to look good on the panel? Man, the realization that how many times we see pride in other people that keep us from working together, I got to look at myself too. And so it was really weird because I did a 180. I'm on the panel, the only one with a shirt, not a sports coat. And somehow, some way, I'm so proud to not be wearing a sports coat because my son's in the first row and he's warm. But the conviction that goes along with that, man, I have to really think about myself first. And in this resource of water, let me tell you, we're not in Kansas anymore. Back when I started 22 years ago, it was easy. Plenty of water in the river. Now, not the case. It's very, very different, and we better start learning to work together. But we got to look at ourselves first. Because, boy, there's some things in there. So anyway, with that, thank you so much, Ann, for the opportunity. And we have our staff here from plant, from lab, education, and they do such a great job in educating our citizens. So thank you, Yesenia, thank you, Katia, Brittany and Amber, thank you so much. Thank you. And I know I took way too long. I rambled. I'm sorry. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. And now I'd like to invite the MPU board chair, Charles Amos, to say just a few words about kind of what it means to lead this august group.
What it means to what?
What it means to you to lead the MPU board, and
Wow.
why water?
I will just use one phrase that is probably the most important phrase that we all need to recognize and embrace, and that is water is life. Without water, there would be no life on this planet. And that's what makes this planet unique. We have sponsored Water Journey over the years and have sponsored other activities with the museum and have partnered with the museum in education of primarily kids. And to have gone through the process, I've been on the board now, it'll be 24 years, July the 9th. That's 5 contested races and 4 uncontested races. Anybody would like to help me retire my debt, let me know. I'm kidding. No, I'm not. Anyway, we've worked with them in the education process. And few people know that, we're a standalone board. We're elected by the city of McAllen, and we're probably the only elected board in the state of Texas. And that provides us a unique opportunity to take care of the system that we have. Few people see or really recognize how many miles of pipe there is under the ground serving water, reuse water, and sewer water. Ann asked why I'm involved. I got involved because I saw something on the water bill years and years ago after the death of my father and taking over the management of properties. And it was something that I thought was, unusual. And I found out it's somewhat unusual. But it was a way that the utility helped finance things. Got it changed so it didn't hurt the operation that we had. But the most important thing is we work on the commodity being precious. Give you a few little statistics without going too far and too long. Currently, McAllen uses about 23 million gallons of water a day. All the usage. That's just potable water. And we have the capacity to do that and have a surplus. of water. And we actually sell water on a wholesale basis to 2 cities that I will not divulge because it might be embarrassing to Edinburgh and Hidalgo. But we sell water to them. We also provide the power plants that are up on Monte Cristo and McCall. There's 2 power plants up there. We provide them with about 4 million to 7 million gallons of reuse water a day for their cooling towers. So they don't have to use water that otherwise could be potable water or used for other uses. We are the largest supplier of reused water south of San Antonio. We've been doing it for over 20 years. That's reusing water that is released from our water reclamation plants, used to be called sewer plants, and we've reused it, cleaned it up, and sent it back. It's sterile, it's clean, doesn't carry any bad things with it. But we partnered with a developer that wanted to have that opportunity to reuse water to irrigate yards instead of using potable water. And it was a great opportunity, and it gave us that ability. But I said earlier that we use here in the city of McAllen about 23 million gallons of water a day, and that's an average, but it gets much higher in the summer. Thank God for the rain, but I wish it would rain up at Amistad instead of here. But we also can produce about 60 million gallons of water a day. So we have the capacity and we have the ability to do that because of planning and water conservation and partnering with IMAS and at times the school district to educate kids. Mark told you a little story about his son. Well, I'll tell you a little story. A good friend of mine, when our kids were in school and where they were in school together, he caught me one time at a function and he says, "Charles, what are you teaching these kids?" I said, what do you mean? "My son came in and he told me to turn the water off while I'm brushing my teeth." And he wouldn't let me, he made me turn the water off. And then he said, and he did it when I was shaving too. I said, "Well, you're just wasting the water. I mean, do you really need that water running while you're brushing your teeth?" "Well, no." "And you really need it when you're shaving? You can have a bowl and get rid of it." "Well, okay. But that's gallons of water that you're saving that we can use someplace else." So water conservation is real important, and we're trying to stay ahead of that. Currently, we have 2 water plants, 2 wastewater plants, 1 plant that's providing the majority of our reuse water, type 1 reuse, which is a category of its own. We also supply reuse water to the golf course, Palmview, and for a few other sprinkler systems. For cleaning, we use reuse water at all of the plants because it's almost as clean as drinking water. The only difference is if you dissolve solids that are still in the water, salt primarily, and but all of the bugs, the bad bugs, are killed. So it's been a privilege to be part of that, and to see the growth of this city. This will tell you something. First city limits I recall, Pecan. Then it went to Harvey, then it went to Nolana, then it went above the railroad tracks, then it went to Northgate, then it went to 107, and now it's all the way out at Monte Cristo. That's a big change. That's a lot of pipe. That's a lot of planning. Now it needs to be more conservation. I'll leave you with this. We are currently embarking on a new process to provide water. We're going to get into the groundwater desal business. That's taking groundwater, which historically down here has a lot of salt in it, and removing that salt to where we can have drinking water, so that we're not totally dependent on the Rio Grande River. Currently, I think the last number I saw was 20%. 20% of those lakes, the water in those lakes is ours, Amistad and Falcon. I don't want to see it rain here as much as I want to see it rain in the mountains of Mexico. About 95% of our water that goes into the Rio Grande downstream from El Paso comes off the mountains of Mexico. So I want to see Mexico get rained on. I want them to have plenty of water so they'll release water and pay their water debt. But we do all of these things and think down the road. What's next? Not tomorrow, not just tomorrow, but next week, month, year, 10 years, 20 years down the road. And we've been very successful at doing so. And we still have, with everything that we do, one of the lowest combined water and sewer rates in the state. Because we're all elected, we're all businessmen of one kind or another, and that's how we operated. But we operated for the betterment of our city and the surrounding area because we have the capacity to do so. So turn off that tap when you don't need to. You know, if we get further into water conservation, which I hope and pray we don't, we'll let you know of a few other things to conserve water. Right now, we have plenty of water to keep going without any great concern, but it's now that we need to conserve the water so that there is some more water for tomorrow. And I want to thank you. Teach your kids well.
Charles, thank you. And it's exciting to hear about the future desalination efforts, and that for us means that we'll need to keep expanding Water Journey because we'll have a new interpretive component that will need to be developed to help continue to educate.
Get a rig in here and drill a well for you.
So that actually brings me to components, exhibit components, and I do want to say a heartfelt thanks to the IMAS team, our curator Marcelo Ramirez, our director of education Ronnie Cortez, and the MPU education team Katia and Yesenia. It's through their collective efforts and our cross-departmental group that includes Anastasia and our exhibits coordinator Luna Galvan and our visitor services manager Jessica Rodriguez. We talk about how our visitors experience the museum, and we each bring a different perspective, different skill set. But one of the things that we feel very strongly about and we cling to very tightly is the accuracy of the content. And so while we want it to be engaging and educational, we also want the content to be correct. And we want all our audiences to be able to enjoy the experience equally, which means that the interpretation needs to be in both English and Spanish to be accessible for our visitors. So I would like to ask Maribel Ibarra, who is Set is going to speak. Oh, you passed the torch, how nice. So I'm going to ask Set Solis to talk a little bit about the process in terms of working with us. And I will say that Sietecolores is an international exhibition design and fabrication firm. Their headquarters is in Mexico City. They are responsible for an outgrowth of the children's museums throughout Mexico, most notably Papalote, El del Museo de Niños in Mexico City, but there are other children's museums throughout Mexico. 4 of them? Three others, yes. And just a little very side personal note, they also designed the Children's Museum at Ithra, which is in Dhahran, Saudi Arabia, which is my grandchildren's children's museum. So I get photos from my son and daughter-in-law of my grandkids playing at a Sietecolores design museum, and it makes me feel good. So Seth, please come up and share a little bit about kind of the design process.
Thank you, everyone. Good morning. I have some notes, and I will be very brief and then talk about the process. It is a great privilege to be here today representing Sietecolores at the reopening of the Water Journey exhibit. On behalf of our entire team back in Mexico City, and of course led by our CEO, Maribel Ibarra, I want to extend our gratitude to the International Museum of Art and Science. Thank you for placing your trust in Sietecolores to refresh and update this wonderful exhibit, first designed by Tom Rockwell. Collaborating with the dedicated IMAS team, the team of education, Marcelo, Anastasia, to bring a new dimension to the water journey has been an immensely rewarding experience for us. At Sietecolores, we are passionate about creating experiences that connect and inspire, and we firmly believe that projects like the updated water journey and more are more than just exhibits. They are opportunities to build bridges with the McAllen community, and our engagement in the company goes beyond design and construction. It's about fostering curiosity, learning, and a shared sense of wonder. So we are incredibly proud of what we have accomplished together, and we are excited for the McAllen community to explore and enjoy the water journey. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So we've done all of this wonderful work in collaboration with MPU and Sietecolores. We needed to get the word out. So we reached out to our partners at Decibel Studios, who we have worked with for many years, more years than I've been here at IMAS, which is closing in on 6. And we reached out to them and said, will you help us capture kind of the spirit and the process of this project and help build excitement to come and see this refreshed water journey exhibit? So I would like to kind of introduce, acknowledge, thank Decibel for their amazing work. And we have a little snippet of the video that will be a part of this communication process to let the rest of the world know how fabulous Water Journey still is and how it's even more engaging. Well, this brings us to the final part of our official program, and that is cutting this large red ribbon that's behind me and taking a celebratory photo. And I think it would be lovely if we can have as many people fit in the photo as possible. We may do some other smaller photos, but we really appreciate all of you coming out this morning, this rainy, damp morning, yes, filled with water, right, to celebrate the reopening of Water Journey.